Wow. Hello. Hi. So amazing. Okay, so I am a spoken word poet or performer or a performance poet, whichever you want to call it. How many of you have heard of that? Spoken word or performance poetry? Okay, so what I always tell my students is it's poetry that's meant to be said, not read. Yeah? I'm going to perform a couple of poems for you today. The first one is called Naga Coil. I hope you enjoy it. Naga Coil wakes with the approach of dawn. The sleepy streets fill fast with the dark chocolate-skinned and industrious. Tradesmen, clerks, and taximen rush past, uniformed schoolchildren with neat braids, all smelling like the wonder of coconut curry. It is next to the southern tip of India, Kanyakumari, where the sun sets and rises, orbs leaving a gratuitous golden glow. 90 years ago, my grandparents came from there, every breath skipping a nervous beat, in a boat rocking back and forth like a cradle. But they couldn't sleep because their minds were already dancing on land with unseen smells and sounds and souls, their teeth weaving the brightly colored threads of Naga Coil into a fabric of words falling from their lips to the sunny soil of Singapore. My grandparents were teachers, but cousins first, with the same ancestors of the same dreams, in a search of places where apples from trees found their ways onto teachers' desks, away from the bellies of hungry children, where a family could be sowed on fertile land in a big house from the seeds of hard work and tradition. My grandfather was an upright man. I think his back was straightened with the force of good, pushing against wrong so he would never have to see it. My grandmother would only ever wear a rustling sari made of pristine silk. She would hold conferences in the kitchen with herself. The beautiful sound of home, a melody from her lips, her children would never decipher. Malayalam. My father passes the word lightly upon his breath. He does not long for the weight of its sounds. He says it is difficult to savor something you do not understand and feel sad missing what you will never know, because Naga Coil is just an unseen image to him, the language just senseless noise. But years later, I am treading upon the same soil, muddy boots, taking searching steps, backpack filled with English stories, looking for the place that I belong, but the history alive in me is unable to speak. My mouth is a temple without words of praise. My veins are vessels without blood of my past. I want to say Naga Coil like it's mine, but I can't. I only speak somebody else's language. My grandparents came 90 years ago, every breath skipping a nervous beat, on a boat rocking back and forth like a cradle. On the long nights, they sang a song of India, for what was then and what would be, a fabric of words falling from their lips in Malayalam, an heirloom I never received. Okay, great. So that poem is about my heritage, or lack thereof. I'm sure some Singaporeans in the room can relate to that. This next one is called The Storm. She was standing in a puddle of water, waiting for an electrical storm to come. "What are you doing?" I shouted. She did not hear me. Rain was beating down on her upturned face. "Get back inside the house," I screamed. The sky was flashing, so I tried to drag her skinny arms, but all she did say was, "I'm washing it away. I'm washing it away." As long as I can remember, my mother was bruised. Sometimes there were only tiny bruises, like ignorant ink saliva ants had bitten her around the neck. Other times, she was bruised on the inside, and some of the blue-black gleamed through her eyes. Then, it would stay within her for days, and a sheen of sadness would block her from vision. When the storm sounds would come, I would sit with my back against the door, listening and wishing I had the courage to stop it, but I never would. I always knew when it was coming, though. She had bought the wrong detergent, or spent too long getting me from school. He said she dressed like a slut for work, or replied a little too rudely. One day, lightning from her bones left thin slashes on her wrists. She had been crying in the bathroom for an hour, but his voice was so loud that he did not hear it. When she came out, it was the first time I had seen anything but bruises mark her delicate skin. I thought then I would rather have her bruised than struck by lightning, but I didn't realize they would be the same thing. The last storm, he threw a glass ashtray at her. It shattered next to her head like a crash of thunder, leaving her trapped against the wall, completely defenseless, surrounded by shards. I told her then that she had to leave, and she did. My mother has not been bruised by my father in 6 years. Now, there are only diamonds around her neck that sparkle in her eyes. Yet, when I am falling in love, I find myself vigilant, ears sensitive to the sound of approaching thunder. I will never be with anybody whose voice is too loud to hear my cries. I will never be with anybody who leaves me bruised instead of sparkling. And I will never be with anybody who leaves me standing in a puddle of water, lit with the reflections of a coming electrical storm. So I hope that you enjoyed those poems. The second one was about my parents' relationship, obviously. I write about things that I want people to know about and that they feel like maybe it's the beginning of change for themselves. Yeah. So I'm just going to perform one last poem. Thank you for welcoming me. This is called Angry Singapore Poem. And it's about how I feel about angry Singapore poems, because believe me, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of angry Singapore poems. This is an angry Singapore poem. It's about being born the wrong citizen, again, under the rule of bullshit democracy, nepotist dictatorship. Karma must have made a mistake, because I woke up in a first world economy without creativity, when money grows green on the tree-lined pavements and history dies shriveled in the Istana basement, and it's about shop houses turning into shopping malls. And this is about all the times I said, I love my country, as it stood behind me with a machete at my back, waiting for me to make a mistake so it could hack open my chest. And this poem is about how ungrateful I am, that sometimes we drink our own filtered piss, that they bottle it and then they give it back to us on National Day. It's about how the street lamps never stop illuminating our flaws. There will always be someone who will tell you that the colors of the rainbow are a little bit off, that the sun was shining in the wrong direction today, that we need to be harder, better, faster, stronger with our KPIs. This poem is about the displeasure I feel walking through flawless midnight streets where nobody has a gun, and the discomfort of never having to worry that a racist mob will hang me upside down from a tree. It's about how in Singapore there are all these censored movies which I am unable to download from the internet, and different kinds of fried rice I will never get to eat. It's about how there always seems to be too much heat, or too much rain, or too much noise, or too much progress. This is an angry Singapore poem. It's about how you never see the flowers in bloom next to the bus stop because you're always complaining it takes too long to come, and you never listen to the musical coo of the pigeons because you only hear the shots culling the crows. It's about how if you didn't have any clothes, they would still be able to clothe you. If you didn't have any money to pay for school, someone would still be able to teach you. If you didn't have anything to do on a Saturday night, you could still find a party. And if you left your wallet at that party, someone might still return it. And this is an angry Singapore poem. Because if I could hold this little red dot in the palm of my hand, it would be like cradling a glowing ball of the future. And you can't be angry when you own something that big.